Like 80% of the systems that we've talked to have experience with this kind of thing. You are not alone. Hey goblins, and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about alter on alter violence. This is something that a lot of people really like to avoid, so of course we're going to talk about this thing. My name is Drake, and I am, I guess you could say, basically a fighter alter. I'm here for physical defense and to make sure we don't get hurt. And first off, I'm going to give some disclaimers. Yeah, trigger warning for talking about violence. I don't think we're going to talk about anything specific, but check the trigger warning list down in the description if I do, because I write those up after I film, so I know exactly what's going to be on there. Check that for sure. Keep in mind, people with D.I.D are no more likely to be violent than literally any rando walking down the street. We're not extra likely to be violent, like, trust me. Most of the time, people with D.I.D are seen causing harm to themselves rather than others, and they're more likely to get into abusive situations rather than cause such. Although it really does go both ways. Like, there is no one-size-fits-all for everyone, but generally, statistics show normal. We are no more violent than anyone else. And that being said, a lot of these violent things happen on the inside, in the inner world where the alters go when they're not in control of the body. So it doesn't really cause any physical damage out here, but it still causes harm to the alters. Yeah, alters can also cause harm to each other co-consciously. For example, taking control over limbs or forcing another alter to feel it when they're doing some sort of behavior that would cause the body pain, I guess you could say. Yeah, I'm trying to be as non-specific as I can, because this is kind of a starting of talking about violence in, I guess, minds when it comes to mental health. Like, this is not a one and done video. I'm going to continue on, and if you guys want to hear about specific instances of violence, be it personal or large scale in our system, let us know down in the comments, and we can make separate videos about that, because those would be so long to explain. Yeah, alters can lock each other in the body and take control of, like, the arms and cause harm that way. That's definitely a thing that happened multiple times with us. There are much less physical limitations in the inner world too. Yeah, alters can interact with each other basically the same way as out here, but sometimes it is different, because some alters do have different abilities than, say, a regular person out here would, and they may have access to different materials as well, different tools and such. We have an alter who has a dungeon in our inner world. We don't have a dungeon out here. And we can't drag people into a dungeon out here, but one of our alters does that to people in our system sometimes, and it do be like that sometimes. We know we're not the only one with a dungeon in our system. We've heard of multiple other systems like that too. Yeah, they can really hurt each other in the inner world. It can get really extreme, way over the top. Alters can intentionally cause each other a ton of harm in order to split them into more alters. We've had that happen multiple times. That's how Adrammelech got his alter. Arcadia intentionally split him by causing him so much physical harm in the inner world that he couldn't tolerate it, and so yeah, that's a thing. Persecutors are commonly known for this behavior, but it's not inherently the persecutors. Like, everyone wants to blame the persecutors, like, oh, they're the ones who, like, hate people in the system, so they're doing the bad stuff, but that's not always the case. Yeah, some alters can get into fights, be it protectors even, and they can beat each other up in the inner world over disagreements. yeah, they can assault each other same ways as things happen in the outer world, but just inside your head and not your physical body, just part of your consciousness, I suppose. But yeah, it's not inherently the persecutors who are doing things. We may see other alters that have like really negative coping mechanisms that they don't see as negative, and that carries on for way too long sometimes before people realize that it's actually very damaging to your health. Exhibit A. Oh, hey. Yeah, Exhibit A. We did a water marbling thing here on this thing that we found at Goodwill. We'll do a speed paint of that. And now we are at a different angle because I cannot replicate the other one exactly. I forget where it was. Yeah, so what do we do about this kind of thing? What to do? Like, alters are causing each other harm on the inside. It feels like a war zone in there, even though you've already been through it and you think you've had enough. What a mood. Yeah, so what we do, this is just for our system, really. Our example, we are like an example of, I suppose, actions used to remedy these situations. Yeah, we're not a coverall for D.I.D. We're a very severe case. Yeah, so yeah, note we are college dropouts and weirdos. These methods won't work for all. Do what's best for you. I'm going off of a outline that I didn't even write. It's just really random, but it's working. It's working good. Yeah, do what's best for you. Every system is different. They each formed for different reasons to help you cope with different things. Everyone's brain is unique and everyone's perception is different. So that means every system is going to be different as well. So what works for me might be the worst thing for you. So proceed with caution when you're trying any of the methods that we do. If you choose to do that, that's definitely something you should consult a therapist with. And don't worry if our methods don't work out for you. Definitely check with your therapist before trying some of the stuff, for sure. We are not professionals. Maybe someday we'll be professionals, but that's not this day. So, one of the things that we do is kind of separate the alters on the inside, kind of give them their own spaces. Like, we have a bunch of cities and stuff, and big places where groups of alters live, and generally alters can kind of, go between cities and kind of see where they fit the best, who's the best to hang around for them, kind of, finding their niche in the system. Sometimes alters are just in the really wrong place. Sometimes. And then we always like to talk it through with them. There's usually a why behind most things. This is kind of how we exist. Like, there's usually a reason why behind a lot of these actions. And it's oftentimes something you can remedy. Like, sometimes it's, just being in a different place, or alters needing to talk about something or share something with the rest of the system. Different balances and such, because your brain kind of puts things in patterns and such to cope with whatever it is you're coping with. And sometimes alters are really, they have a lot of trouble getting out of their kind of, their places, I suppose. So sometimes it can cause a lot of distress. So just try to keep an open mind a lot of the time and ask a lot of questions why, but not too many questions. Like, just kind of have a good openness in your brain, kind of ready to accept what they have to say. That's kind of how we try to function. Be like, yeah, if any alters need to tell us things, like, go for it. We're all the same body here. Like, we're all on the same team. So if you can share with the rest of the system, like, go for it. And a lot of alters take us up on that. You hear a lot of responses and such from the very back of the system. Sometimes it's delayed, though. Most of the time it's actually delayed, because we'll have, like, a couple people saying something like, one of our alters is talking to one of Acrylic's alters or something, and they say something that one alter who has some crucial knowledge wants to talk about. Sometimes we'll hear their response to like someone's sentence from 5 minutes ago just in the back of our head as if the time hadn't passed at all. So sometimes we got a little bit of lag, but it's working so far. Yeah, we always ask why. Some people don't want to know, but we do. Like, it isn't a necessity. You don't always have to know why. That is just our temperament. We can't leave stones unturned in our own garden, Oh, that's a good saying. Yo, that's great. We can't leave stones unturned in our own garden, so we like to see everything that's there and be able to, I guess, help alters accordingly, because sometimes it's just so imbalanced with the way alters are hanging on to emotions or like spilling their emotions onto others. That can happen. If alters say there's one that doesn't experience pain and another alter is trying to hurt them, then the pain from that alter might go down to a different alter entirely. Like someone unrelated may be getting that pain kind of just pushed down onto them, and it can be totally unknown sometimes. You can go for a long time without figuring that out, and it really sucks when it turns out that that's what's been happening in your system here and there. So we've been trying to find better ways to cope with emotions and more sharing the knowledge rather than having it be in just, specific places. Yeah, helping your alters find another outlet is always a good option, like for anyone really. Any alters having something that they enjoy doing out here is really helpful. Sometimes it can be exercise, it can be art. Art's a really good one. Like, you can do some really aggressive drawings and stuff, and it can look like something out of a scary movie, and it can be really cool and therapeutic. We do stuff like that sometimes, and then we paint and do prints. Lots of art. Lots of stuff done by alters that seem like they'd be negative, but really aren't inherently so. A lot of alters kind of show up kind of shocking the system, being like, hey, like, I'm here, can you handle this? Like, Chase is doing that right now to our system. He's kind of being super loud, not as loud as he always is, but loud enough to kind of let people know that he's really there and he means it, and he is an alter, not just a fragment. And he demands to be not ignored. Sometimes it's as much as finding them a friend out here. Like, if you've got friends that are accepting of your D.I.D, then that is bomb. But that is not always the case. Sometimes it's really hard to find that. We're currently in that boat. Debating on whether or not to tell one of our coworkers that we're a system, but I think she can handle it. Yeah, well, we'll figure out how that goes. I'm gonna make some video about this, like, really meta kind of situation I'm in right now of who should I disclose being a system to in town, because we're fresh in town and we don't have any friends. And we value face-to-face friendship, hella. So it's been a time. And then, let's see. Yeah, exercise is a good thing for alters who have a bunch of energy and really need to, like, do something aggressive. Like, lifting weights is pretty good. If you don't have weights, you can lift heavy objects. Like, what's a good example? Textbooks. You could use textbooks. Like, if you got, like, a textbook in each hand, that would be just as good as dumbbells sometimes. But be careful with your wrists. That'd probably hurt a little. Yeah. And if you've got a punching bag, that is absolutely a resource that you should not forget about, because that's very helpful for getting out anger too. And learning how to, like, box or something instead of just, flailing at the thing could kind of give, something else to focus on too, instead of just focusing on the energy itself. Trying to focus on what you can do with it. That's what we've been trying to figure out. Like, when we feel all this energy, we're like, I need something to do now and a lot of it's been pretty good. We do a lot of things like shoveling snow when we get angry and it's snowing outside. That's a real fun one. I do enjoy that. And, you know, taking out the garbage if it's a heavy bag, pretending it's like a body bag. That'd be fun. Pretend it's a body bag and in that bag is your abuser. Yeah, I'm totally gonna do that at one point. Yeah, and another one, I think this is our last point, you could let these alters go to therapy. You can let them take over appointments here and there if that's something cool with your therapist. Like, be sure to disclose that and, like, you know, talk about, like, hey, this alter could use some additional help. Like, if you've got any extra coping mechanisms we could use for this situation, that'd be great. Kind of ask, you know, some conflict resolution. That might help if they've got, you know, some therapists have these pages of like tips for social situations, and sometimes they may have conflict resolution ones, and those can really be applied to systems. Like, it's funny, you know, like workplace environment conflict solving works surprisingly well with systems. You would be surprised. But yeah, you can let them go to therapy, discuss that with your therapist though. Just make sure that you're all on the same page there. Therapists are there to help you. They're not trying to mess you up. I know some of them don't believe in D.I.D, but you're not stuck with a therapist. Some of them are quite outdated and refuse to update their beliefs, but there's a therapist out there for everyone, and sometimes it just takes a little bit of looking, and you'll find that eventually. We're right there with you. And we'll get through this. Yeah, alters that cause violence, this is not a kind of, you know, sentence. It's not going to be how things are forever inherently. These things can be remedied. These things can be repaired. Like, these relationships between alters can be turned from something terrifying to, you know, neutrality even, or maybe even friendship. Who knows? Like, there aren't really limits. Yeah, there's not really limits with life. Yeah, life is what you make of it. And yeah, conflicts can be resolved between alters, and there is certainly violence that happens inside of the heads of people with D.I.D. This is something very common, like anger, angry thoughts, you know, thinking about doing violent things that you'd like to do but never actually do. Never actually do. Yeah. Those are very common, and you're so not alone with that, and we plan to talk about that more. So, definitely leave some questions in the comments if you've got those. And on your way down, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, and if you want to know what we're doing, hit the notification bell. It'll tell you when we post stuff. Check the descriptions for trigger warnings and links to random social medias and other things. Our P.O. box is down there. Be sure to take care of yourselves. Drink a glass of water today, and we will see you all in the next video. Damage on the inside, inner world. Balls. I'm gonna cut that out.